Have you ever dreamed of leaving your job years ahead of schedule and retiring on your own terms? That is exactly what I did at 59, and I'm here to tell you how I turned that dream into reality through all the highs, lows, and tough decisions along the way. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm giving you a candid look at my journey of breaking free from the 9-to-5 grind and embracing early retirement. I had always planned to retire at 62, but something changed along the way, and I decided to take that leap 3 years earlier. Through the comment sections in my videos, it seems many of you are curious about how I got here, what happened, and did something push me to make such a bold move? So today's video is all about that. The short answer is, it wasn't an easy decision. But after feeling trapped in a job that drained my energy and my happiness, I knew it was time to take control of my life. Let me share with you how I made it happen, the steps I took, and why it became one of the best decisions of my life. My journey towards early retirement really started in my early 50s when I began to realize just how burned out I was. I'd spent over 20 years working in environmental regulatory compliance, a challenging field where it often felt like I was pushing a rope uphill, always trying to convince people the importance of environmental rules and regulations. In a corporate for-profit environment, environmental compliance is often viewed as a necessary evil. It gets in the way of profits and production. This meant endless struggles to get buy-in from teammates and management. Even when safety, environmental, and legal standards, as well as potential fines, were on the line. And in some of the worst corporate cultures I worked at, management would openly say that they'll just pay the fines rather than implement the compliance programs required by law. And I care about the environment. I want to be able to enjoy the outdoors. I want my kids and my grandchildren to do the same. And I recognize the danger pollution brings to us all. So seeing these short-sighted, bad attitudes up close and personal was exhausting, and it just hurt my heart. My last job was the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say. I was at a big manufacturing company with serious safety concerns, one that was often in the news for all the wrong reasons. Imagine being in charge of compliance activities in a setting like that, with ongoing government inquiries, disgruntled employees, and constant corporate restructuring. On many days, it felt like going into a battlefield. And to make things worse, I lived in a major metropolitan area with lots and lots of traffic. So my day started at 5 a.m. just to beat the rush, find a precious parking spot that wasn't a mile away from the building I worked at, and be at my desk by 6 a.m., only to turn around and do the same exhausting commute at the end of the day. It was definitely draining. The moment I knew it was time. One day, after yet another interaction with a particularly toxic coworker, you know the kind, the ones that seem to be living in a completely different reality than the rest of us, I knew I had to get out of there before I started voicing my snarky thoughts about just how crazy and out of touch she was. And she wasn't the only one. But I knew I didn't have it in me to start over at another company. I was done. That's when I asked myself, what are my options? Could I retire now? I went home that day and I took a deep dive into my finances. And I am a nerd at heart, so I did what I do best. I pulled out my trusty spreadsheets and I crunched the numbers. To my surprise, I discovered that I had enough to retire comfortably with a little over $500,000. But I wasn't completely trusting that I could, or rather that I should, pull this off. So I turned to my son for advice. My son, who always has a grounded and logical perspective, didn't hesitate. He said, "Go for it, Mom. Retire now while you're still young and fit enough to enjoy life. Life isn't just about work." And those words were exactly what I needed to hear, and they gave me the extra boost of confidence to take the leap. Now I just had the daunting task of how to tell my boss and how much notice to give. I mean, would they be upset and make my last days at work even more of a hell? Or worse, escort me out of the building the moment I gave notice and then put a wrench in my financial plans? It's a situation many of us will face, and it's important to gauge it based on your unique workplace. Even though the company I was at had its challenges, my boss was one of the best. I felt a responsibility to him to handle my departure with professionalism, and I also didn't want to leave the team shorthanded. I also had a previously planned 3-week vacation coming up, so I made a very bold decision to give a 3 months notice shortly before I went on vacation. Now, I'll never forget the day I walked into his office to share the news. My heart was racing, and I felt a mix of excitement and fear and relief all at once. As soon as the words were out of my mouth, a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I was beaming from the inside out. I felt guilty for being so excited, knowing it was creating a lot of extra work for him and my team. But that was just the people pleaser in me coming out. I pushed that aside because this was the right decision for me. And true to form, my boss was incredibly supportive. Also shocked, because he definitely didn't see this coming. I felt a huge sense of freedom wash over me. The next 3 months were actually surprisingly quite wonderful and liberating. I went to Greece to visit my son for 3 glorious weeks. And once I got back, I started handing over all my responsibilities and projects, trained my replacement, and with each task I handed off, I felt a weight being lifted. No more battles, no more convincing coworkers why they had to do the right thing for compliance. Just a growing sense of peace with each passing week. And it was a joy to watch my replacement, a smart, enthusiastic colleague, take on the role, knowing I was leaving everything in capable hands. The responses from my coworkers was overall very supportive. Lots and lots of congratulations, and even more shocked that I could retire at such a young age. Many were pulling me aside, asking me how I could pull it off, and they started asking me for advice. That's really when I realized how many people were unprepared for retirement, not sure how to even plan for it, and completely clueless as to how much was needed to retire. That's where the idea of this channel was born. It was from all of that. But anyway, after work, I would focus on preparing for my new life. I had already decided I was moving to my new home in Virginia, so I spent my free time going through all of my stuff, deciding what to keep, what to throw out, starting packing, hiring movers, all the things. On the finance side of things, I already had a big cash nest egg, so I was set there. I did shift a portion of my investments into low-risk CDs, prioritizing stability as I entered this new chapter. It's been a few months now, and I'm settling into retirement. I am loving my life here in Virginia. It is beautiful. Every morning I wake up without an alarm, and I can truly enjoy the freedom I worked so hard for. There are, of course, some mental adjustments. After all, it's not super easy to shift from a lifetime of working to complete freedom. But those are stories that I'll save for another video. So far, quitting my job and retiring early has been the best decision. It was nerve-wracking at first, but I realized that taking control of my life was worth every bit of uncertainty. We often get trapped in a belief that we need to work ourselves to exhaustion. But life is so much more than just paying bills and climbing the corporate ladder. So if you are feeling stuck or wondering if there's more to life, I encourage you to start planning now. Dream big and take control of your future. Retirement might seem like a far-off dream, but with the right mindset and planning, it is entirely possible. So thank you so much for joining me on my journey. If you want to hear more about my experience or tips on how you can make your dream retirement a reality, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, take charge of your life and pursue the freedom you deserve.